It's an honor and a privilege and more than a little bit overwhelming to be asked to come here to speak on behalf of my friend and teammate, Fred Loek, on the occasion of his induction into the City of Mississauga's Legends Row. Whatever words I might be able to say will not do this man's legacy justice, but I'll try. Fred was my coach, my teammate, my mentor, my colleague, and most importantly, my friend. We first met in 1970 on the banks of the Credit River at the Dawn Rowing Club. I was one of the first of a long series of young athletes who were to benefit from his coaching. In fact, I was, I believe, his first project as a coach. I learned quickly about how he operated. In those days, I weighed 125 pounds, not much more than a coxswain who usually weighs about 110 pounds, and he had me competing in the heavyweight category. Heavyweights are for people that are over 170 pounds, and some of them are giants. I was skeptical, but I ended up being a finalist in the Canadian High School Championships that year as a novice. I was one of the first to see how he could draw the very best out of a person. He believed in me far more than I believed in myself, and he inspired me to grow and succeed in the sport of rowing. In 1972, we became teammates, rowing in a four-man crew, winning a number of lightweight championships along the way. The crew became close, as many high-performance athletes are, but we also became very dear friends. Fred was our leader, but he also grew alongside us. There in the locker room, after our twice-per-day exhausting workouts, we shared our secrets, our dreams, and aspirations. Orange Crush in a bottle was our beverage of choice. It had to be in a glass bottle, according to Fred's instructions. He convinced us that it had mystical qualities. And he was right. We won. In that locker room, we grew from boys to men. Fred was like an older brother to me. We adopted each other. He taught me things, many little things that might have seemed inconsequential at the time. But those lessons always mattered. The fact that he cared about me mattered at a time when I was a brutally shy boy who was largely afraid of the world. One story that I've told once or twice is that when I was 17, he taught me how to shave. Evidently not very well, but imagine that, just a small thing. But to this day, I cannot put a razor to my face without thinking of him, smiling in the mirror with gratitude for the guidance that he gave me. From the outside, it might seem that Fred lived a charmed life, but he had to tough it out more than most. Arriving to Canada as a new immigrant from Holland, his best English, he would admit, was taught to him by listening to Rolling Stones records. I can't get no satisfaction. By the time I met him, he had pretty much mastered English, and he was really very articulate. But in the early days after his arrival to Canada, his friends and roommates in the early days would tease him. They might send him out to shop for groceries, but they would use English slang instead of the proper words. For example, they would write "little ones" on the shopping list, and he would have no idea what that meant. So he'd go and ask the grocer what it meant, and the grocer wouldn't know either. To this day, I'm not sure whether little ones or peas are little onions. No matter. I won't tell you what they called toilet tissue. We laughed so hard every time he told those stories. Fred loved to talk with people. He wanted to know your story. He wanted to learn. It didn't matter whether you were rich, poor, a politician, a factory worker, or a homeless person. He would stop and talk. It was because he loved his community and he wanted to know everything about it and everyone in it. It seems to me that Fred had four great passions. Of course, he loved sport, rowing naturally, but also cycling, paddling, and soccer. He loved his profession, photography, and he strove to be as excellent in that arena as he was in rowing. He loved his community, first the town, then the city of Mississauga, but also his adopted country, Canada. He would often invite me to join him on his photo shoots just to explore the city together, and his eyes sparkled when he saw a photo opportunity. But oh, how he loved his family. He married Liz, the prettiest girl in all of Mississauga, and he loved her more than anything or anyone. And when his children Eve and Jonathan came into the world, and when his grandchild Livy came into the world, his love only grew. Fred brought the Canadian dream to reality. From his humble beginnings as a young immigrant from Holland, with little or no money, who had trouble speaking English, he strove purposely day by day to learn all that he could and how to contribute as best he could. He valued every single day, always trying to move forward, to do better. It's said that teachers open doors, but students must walk through themselves. He never took credit for the accomplishments of his athletes. In private conversations with me, he always spoke glowingly about their character, their resolve, their athleticism, their inner strength. Even in his striving for perfection, he was humble. His real strength, I think, was getting the very best out of his athletes. He inspired through example, through his knowledge, and through his passion. The world is a better place for having had Fred Loek live with us. He did the very best he could with what he had. And what a magnificent legacy he has left. Bless you, Fritz. We love you, and we miss you. Now I'll ask that you relax and watch the following video about this very special and ordinary man who accomplished the extraordinary.